The National League Central, a lot of questions to break down here midseason. You have four teams actually above 500, and then one with the best pitcher in Major League Baseball, and absolutely nothing else to show for it. We're going to break it all down in more NL Central midseason questions featuring WFAN's Keith McPherson. Keith, welcome back to the show. We appreciate it.
Hey, let's get after it again, man. Let's talk through it and see what we come up with.
We loved having you on here for our NL East coverage as well. It was great to have you on. So we're so happy to have you here today covering the NL Central because there is a lot to break down when it comes to the NL Central and what some of these teams could possibly provide. And I think immediately that starts with the Chicago Cubs. So I think some people were high on going into the season. Some were like, okay, maybe they'll be a division winner. I don't think anyone saw what they've done in the first half. No one saw that coming. It all is with the bats. The rotation's been all right. It's mainly been the Kyle Tuckers, the Pete Crow Armstrongs of the world that are allowing the Cubs to reach their full potential. Do you believe that hitting success is sustainable for the full season to the point where they could be that contender?
Yeah, I just got to see it firsthand. Yankee Stadium, I was there Saturday when Max Fried pitched. These guys are grinders. They grind out at bats. If you make a mistake, they're on it. Their lineup is deep. They have so many guys that can make you pay, whether it's Michael Busch, whether it's Seiya Suzuki. You already mentioned Kyle Tucker and Pete Crow Armstrong, who were two all-stars that we saw last night. Matt Boyd, he's an all-star going to their pitching. They have enough pitching, but really it's like this team is the best hitting team in baseball. I was saying that Friday night when I got on WFAN after the Yankees blanked them, because Cody Bellinger had almost four home runs.
I was there, 3 belly bombs. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, I was there too. And I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, the Yankees just have incredible momentum right now to beat the Cubs 11-0. I'm like, for Rodon to shut this offense down, have 8 strikeouts, go 8 innings. I'm like, maybe it was just an off night for them. And it was. They bounced back the next 2 days, scoring early and scoring enough to win. So that lineup is their strength. And they have so many good hitters that somebody's going to get to you. And if you make a mistake, they make you pay.
4 qualifying guys in their lineup with an OPS above 800, 7 guys who are qualified with an OPS above 700, and 4 guys with a WAR above 3. Hey, Pittsburgh, take notes on how to build a good lineup because this Chicago team has been unbelievable this year. And a team where I was like, okay, yeah, maybe they can win the Central. Not in a million years did I see them doing what they've been doing this year. And even on an off night, when I was there on Friday, Yankees Cubs, it still feels like this team has the opportunity to just go full throttle and possibly secure a championship because they are that talented offensively, and I'm excited to see what else is in store here for Chicago. Meanwhile, let's talk about St. Louis. Earlier this year, it felt like, or going into the year, this is not going to be St. Louis's year. Projected for 76.5 wins preseason, their lowest preseason projection in 17 years, according to The Athletic. Now they're 51-46 and only a game and a half back of the wild card. Keith McPherson, do you believe the Cardinals are going to go to the postseason this year?
No. I think that, they have a strong culture and fan base and ballpark and some veteran players on that team that kind of anchor the ship. Brendan Donovan, Sonny Gray, Nolan Arenado, guys like that have been able to, help lead the way so they weren't actually as bad as folks were predicting. But yeah, I don't have too much stock in them. They're right in the middle of the NL Central, and then they are just a game and a half out of the wild card. But I expect them to drop off once we get to the dog days, once the going gets tough for them. And yeah, we'll see. But I don't really see St. Louis as a team getting there this year.
It's so tricky because you look at the NL wildcard race and it's like, how can you predict this? And you're going to see a great team not make the postseason. San Diego and San Francisco both got off to incredible starts. Right now, San Francisco at the All-Star break is a half game out of the playoffs. Think about that. San Francisco, one of the top teams in Major League Baseball, plus Rafael Devers. And right now, they're not in the postseason. It's crazy to think about the National League just in terms of how loaded it is in terms of the depth of the amount of great teams there are in the league. It's far superior to the American League. And I think this particular season, you're going to see a ton of great teams from the National League miss out. Maybe it's Milwaukee that takes the dip. Who knows? But it's crazy, I think, right now, the NL wildcard, you're going to see a great elite team miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll say this, and I just peeped at their schedule before we did this. They're not going to sell at the deadline, and if they come out in the second half, they face the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, the Padres, the Marlins, the Padres again. Like if they can kind of get out of the gate here into August, they'll be all right. But then it gets a little rough for them. They got to face the Dodgers and the Cubs. So it depends on how they start. They also got the Yankees coming up next month as well.
We're going to have to see what happens. Baseball, it's such a long season, but you're right. If they could just get off to a decent start and be in that mix, they're not going to sell. They're going to try to go all in and see what happens. I just mentioned Milwaukee here as well. Another team where it's like, we'll see what happens. I kind of want to go in a different direction here. Joey Ortiz, former
Mhm.
Baltimore Oriole, was a part of the deal with Corbin Burns. Last season, the average wasn't great, but he had decent power, a decent OPS, above average hitter, young, 25 years old, and it felt like he was trending in the right direction. And this year has been 38% worse than the average hitter per OPS plus, and it just felt like a liability in the lineup as a qualifying hitter. They've kept going to him, and he hasn't produced. What happened to him, and what does the future hold for Ortiz in Milwaukee?
The manager of the year called him out. Pat Murphy had to call him out. He benched him and said that, like, he expects more from him. And there's been a lot of talk about his at bats, his plate discipline, and his performance. I think he's just, going through some things early on in this season. A young guy trying to find his way, but we know he's got some talent. And I don't know, similar to like an Anthony Volpe. I actually talked about this on WFAN. Like with Anthony Volpe and the Yankees, they won't call him out. But this is New York versus Milwaukee. I think the All-Star break is going to be good for him. I think that Milwaukee has a bunch of scrappy players, some young players, and he's part of that group. He'll get going in the second half.
So obviously, you're a reporter. You've been covering baseball for a long time. What do you think a guy like Joey Ortiz right now is trying to work through when you're in that, how dare I say the dangerous word, slump? How do you work through that? And if you're a guy like Joey Ortiz, get back to the level that you're expected to be at?
Yeah, I think it's usually just like guys the book is out on you. Guys know how to pitch you. They figure out your strengths and weaknesses, and you have to adjust the way that they've adjusted to you now that they've seen you. So I think it's just him putting in the work and time. And if your manager is calling you out, that means that like they're expecting you to show up early, get your batting practice in, lock in on the hitting meetings, talk to your hitting coach, like that type of stuff. Like I think he's got to go the extra mile. And if he is, like if a guy's putting in the work, it goes back to Anthony Volpe. Like they always talk about how Volpe puts in the work, and that's why they don't call him out. That's why they don't, make an example out of him because they say he's working hard. Maybe Joey Ortiz behind the scenes, I don't know, needs to put a little bit more effort into improving and getting back to being what they expect him to be.
It will be interesting. We're going to have to keep an eye here on this Joey Ortiz situation to see if he could finally reach his full potential as that infielder in Milwaukee, coming from Baltimore in that trade a few years ago. And again, got off to a great start in Milwaukee, but is seemingly not done as well as of late. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, we look at Cincinnati, and the conversation for them is just, I mean, we all know how great Ellie De La Cruz is. He'll probably finish 30-30 this year, great hitting metrics, but there's no one else to pick up the pieces. No other qualifying hitter has an OPS above 800 or has 40 or more RBIs outside of De La Cruz. He seems to be really carrying this team in their lineup. Do you think they have enough, though, long term outside of Ellie?
Not long term, maybe in the short term. I watched them beat the Yankees with Gavin Lux and former Yankee Jose Trevino, and they had enough. Um, they debuted it was Chase Burns against us. They had enough to beat the Yankees, but yeah, even Ellie De La Cruz, he's got to work on some of his defense and his errors and things like that. I don't know. I don't think Cincinnati is there yet, but not in the long term, but maybe in the short term, they can still make some noise here in the second half.
Do you think, though, having a guy like Ellie De La Cruz, he just brings that positive energy? He's so great. Do you believe he can be that future number one and really anchor a championship winning offense?
I don't know. I think, and it's funny because I saw him in O'Neal Cruz, and it's almost like they're like twins, like they're like the same size, stature.
Yeah.
Um, and O'Neal Cruz had to move to center field. I think eventually they move Ellie De La Cruz to center field. I don't know if that helps his psyche, his morale, his approach at the plate, but yeah, I don't know. He's a guy that's going to get paid a lot of money. He's a guy that is a phenom just because of his speed and athletic ability, but when you pull up his numbers, like I just pulled up, he's hitting 284. He's got 18 homers, 63 ribbies. Like I don't know if he can be the powerhouse to like carry a team. He needs more talent around him, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think that will kind of be the conversation here for Cincinnati is when you have a talent like Ellie De La Cruz, you want to capitalize on that opportunity, especially while you have him cheap, and at least try to contend while you do have that. Even if he can't be that top guy, build somewhat of a core because this team is fine, right? I mean, I don't. Maybe they'll make the playoffs, maybe they won't. Right now, they're 2.5 games out, but they're still above 500. We're gonna have to see what happens here for Cincinnati, but you got to think they have somewhat of a core in place to where you add a few more pieces to Ellie De La Cruz, and they can take that next step towards contention, kind of like Arizona did with Corbin Carroll the one year, though they haven't done a good job on capitalizing on that. That's a different discussion for a different day. But yeah, I mean, they have the potential, obviously, to really become a contender and a true powerhouse, I think, with Ellie De La Cruz, if they could spend their money right and get some free agents and some different pieces this winter in the free agency and trading market. One last team here we got to talk about from the NL Central, and that's Pittsburgh Pirates. And you got Paul Skeens and you got Livy Dunn in your cheer section, and that's about it. And Pittsburgh is just right now looking for anybody who can hit a baseball because right now we can pull up the numbers after this, and I don't really think they have anyone. Keith, at what point are they just going to say, all right, yeah, maybe it's time to start adding a bat in this lineup?
No, they're selling already. They're open for business today. They traded Adam Frazier back to the Royals, and I expect them to sell off Key Brian Hayes. I was joking last night about how Brian Reynolds has a no trade clause where he doesn't want to be sent to any contenders. He never wants to be in the postseason, I guess. Tommy Pham probably wants to get out of there. They'll probably trade off David Bednar. But, yeah, it always comes back to Paul Skeens. I've already taken 5 calls on WFAN about, hey, you think the Pirates will trade us Paul Skeens? No, I don't think that they'll trade Paul Skeens because their fans would literally riot. But, you know, it's the Pirates, man. Even Pat McAfee during the All-Star game show he did talked about how, you know, he went to West Virginia and he grew up out there, but his dad did not let him get involved with being a Pirates fan because it's just not a good culture. They lose. So, yeah, no, they should be sell, and sell the team.
But I guess this offseason, I mean, at some point, if you're not going to add bats, what's the point of having Paul Skeens there? Because as crazy as some of the calls are to think that you could trade Paul Skeens, what's the other alternative if you're just going to sit as one of the worst teams in the MLB with one of the most talented players there is?
Having Livy Dunn show up to your ballpark.
Man, it's the only positive becoming a Pirates fan right now.
As long as he's keeping her, I'm keeping him because she's going to show up to the ballpark to support her man. So they'll figure it out at the last time. Like Paul Skeens is a guaranteed like big money pitcher that's going to hit free agency and not stay there. But they've got so many other issues going on in Pittsburgh, from that fight that went viral to the Roberto Clemente 21 in right field that they took down. Like they can't get right.
And it's so sad too because the ballpark, it's a beautiful ballpark.
Oh, it's one of the best in baseball.
Yeah,
PNC Park, love it.
Unbelievable. I mean, they got to start to put a great product on.
They have great fans. They have a great culture out there and a great fan base, but they don't do right by them at all.
As a Capitals and Ravens fan, I can tell you they have too passionate of a fan base for me. The Pirates are the only Pittsburgh team I can't stand, but the Penguins and Steelers I'm not exactly rooting for on a nightly basis. Keith McPherson. Those were all the teams here we're going to talk about in the NL Central. We appreciate you taking the time today to speak with us about some of those teams. And yeah, it feels crazy to think about, but who knows what's going on with the Pirates in the future. Keith, we appreciate it.
Chase, you're the man. Keep doing your thing. Proud of you. Call me on WFAN sometime.
Got to do that for sure. Listening all the time, huge fans, so definitely will be able to do that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in alongside Keith McPherson of WFAN. I'm your host, Chase Colbert, here from Chase's Sports News.